Flameo, my good Hotman. If you have at this point not watched Netflix's new adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but you are a fan of the original series, then my suggestion to you would be to watch this new incarnation without trying to compare it to the original show. Try to watch this as if you've never seen any of this world and you are coming in fresh. And after you inevitably fail to do that and immediately compare the two shows because you're watching the same show, of course you're going to draw comparisons. After you've done that, come back and watch the rest of this video.
Gaming cookie guy!
Entertainment.
Obviously, I was expecting the show to change some elements of the original, pun definitely intended. But what I wasn't counting on was actually enjoying some of the changes. And yeah, for every one change I liked, there was probably two I didn't. So instead of making my typical rewrite video where I try to story bend everything into the exact mold that I would have wanted to see as a child, I decided instead I want to talk about just my 3 favorite changes and my 3 least favorite changes, the positive and negative jing, if you will.
There are 3 jings?
Well, technically there are 85.
And let's start off on a positive note. Now, say what you want about some or even most of this new cast, but the one that maybe worked best for me, at least out of the main cast, still love you, Suki, was Dallas Liu as Prince Zuko. Every time he was on screen, I was back in. But they didn't just stop at getting the casting right. They actually changed some elements of Zuko this season. Specifically, they deepened his relationship with his crew. They even made them, they retconned them into being the division of soldiers that Zuko saved in the council meeting where he disrespected his father. I think this was a great change. It gives us a chance to see Zuko trying to be that rigid, honor-bound leader that he thinks his father is. And he sees how this only alienates the people that he is leading, and it is only when they learn who is behind that, who he is underneath, who is the real Zuko, that, not when he is trying to be his father, that is when they really start to respect him. Dallas Liu also gave us one of the new all-time Zuko moments.
But your unceasing effort is what led you to the Avatar.
He ran!
As for something I didn't like as much, this would be the arrangement of certain scenes, I guess you could say. Specifically, I want to talk about the order we reveal the air nomad genocide. It's like this version didn't trust the audience to stay with the show unless they threw everything at us all up front. So in the original show, we don't have confirmation that the Firebenders killed all the Airbenders. I mean, I guess if you don't count the intro, until episode 3.
The Fire Nation is ruthless. They killed my mother. They could have done the same to your people.
Just because no one has seen an airbender doesn't mean the Fire Nation killed them all.
And we don't really dig into Aang's backstory until episode 12. Now, I'm not saying that the scene of the Firebenders invading the Air Temple wasn't a great sequence. I think we should keep that in the show. Just do it later. It's too much too quickly. I'd even suggest we keep that opening with Sozin. It lets us keep a cool action scene to get people who aren't invested in this world hooked. And it sets up that something is about to happen. Yes, we know that that is going to be the extermination of the Airbenders, but how much better would it have been for us to see that information, for that to be revealed to us at the same time as Aang? We'd really get to sit in that scene with him and feel everything he's feeling. Then we can wait to show the Airbender genocide in episode 5, Spirited Away. This is already our big flashback episode. We get Katara's full flashback. We get Sokka's backstory. So why not just put all of Aang's story right here? It's even perfectly placed in the season, episode 5. It's just after halfway. So now that we've gotten to know who these characters are, let's take a step back and reveal how they came to be that person. And if we really want Gyatso to be the one to reveal this story to Aang, if we want to see this through his perspective, then fine. I don't love bringing that character back, but if we need someone to give Aang closure and guidance in this moment, then we could do a lot worse.
It's not your fault.
Going back to something I liked, something that we all knew the Netflix adaptation would have to do would be to play with their narrative, to combine some episodes, some plot lines, use what they had available to them and stitch together a new show. One example of that really impressed me with how well it worked together was what they did with Jet and Sai. Now, I didn't love this change at first. Bringing them both to Amashu makes the Earth Kingdom feel a little less expansive, and it makes Amashu seem a bit out of King Bumi's control. So I'm not convinced this couldn't have taken place at a different location, but nonetheless, I still liked the contrast of bringing these two characters together. They have so much in common, and yet they are so different. They are both trying their best to protect their loved ones. They are both marked by great loss. They are both being pushed to do things in this war that they would never do, and that the other person would be diametrically opposed to. And this also brings Sokka and Katara into conflict in a really satisfying and organic way, because they both feel a real connection. They make real connections with these people, with Sai and with Jet. I think it's just some really, really cool and interesting storytelling that they were able to identify these two characters like this. Though I would change it up just slightly in this episode so that we get that mirrored allegiance all the way up until the end of the episode. So instead of meeting with King Bumi, I'd probably have Sai meet with one of his Fire Nation contacts, something to that effect. So that way Sokka can realize, oh no, Sai is giving my designs over to the Fire Nation. At the same time, we have Katara realizing with Jet that he is going a little too far. So that way, right up until the last minute, they are on opposite sides, and then they can cross over, work together to take down both Jet and Sai. This way they're not teaming up just to go after Jet. It brings it a little out of balance. This way, there's a bit more harmony to the episode. Now, the next thing I didn't like is kind of multifaceted, but it all arises from the Kyoshi Warriors episode. So I'm going to count it as one change I didn't like, even though I'm going to be bringing up multiple little points in this section. And no, it's not Sokka's lack of sexism. I know it was a good arc for him to go on. I still think they could have and probably should have included it, but we do sexism later in the season, and I get maybe not wanting to repeat that same lesson, so I'll give that one a pass. No. What I really didn't like from the moment I saw it, and I have not changed my mind about it, was Kyoshi's prophecy about the destruction of the Northern Water Tribe.
And I will show you what will happen if you fail. Tragedy awaits the North.
Now, in general, I am not against prophecies in media, but this was just so clearly a way to manufacture tension and a sense of urgency and a reason to get Aang to go to the North, where we wouldn't need one if they just stuck to the original plot. I am still so completely baffled at the decision to have Aang learn no waterbending this season, because Aang should be heading north to do that. There are no other waterbenders other than Katara. He has to learn waterbending next. Go north. That's all you needed. And also, Kyoshi is his past life. Shouldn't she not really know more than Aang knows? How does she suddenly have the power of foresight? I don't like this implication that the past lives can predict the future when it's convenient for them. And I really don't like the idea of the past lives being able to completely possess Aang and come back to life? ? I think I get what they were trying to do with having Kyoshi come back and fight off Zhao and his men. First off, I mean, obviously they were just trying to give us a cool fight scene, which, like, mission accomplished. Good job on that. But I think their main goal was, like, to show that Aang has absolutely no control over the Avatar state, so he needed Kyoshi to step in and, like, do it for him. I don't know. This is just a real slippery slope. You could have done this in so many ways. What I like to picture is just like Aang puts on the makeup. He puts on Kyoshi's regalia. He has the fans, and, you know, from Suki or her mother's perspective, they see in a dust cloud maybe a vision of Kyoshi real quick before it flips back to Aang. I think that's a good way to show that Kyoshi's working through Aang, but it's still Aang in the end. actually bringing back Kyoshi opens like a whole can of worms that they have to figure out how to put the seal back on. Cause like later now you have to answer questions like, oh man, wouldn't it be awesome if Aang could just do that all the time, but too bad because he isn't standing in the house of Karflog. And Karuk can do it. No, Karuk can't do it. Well, what about Roku? We're on Roku's island. Well, he's not going to do it either. So like you didn't have to do that if you just stuck with the canon. Past lives are there for guidance, and even that should be in pretty extreme cases. The previous avatars, as dope as they are, should not be able to come back for fight scenes, even if we really want them to. And if anything, Kyoshi should be telling him to go north, to learn waterbending, to finish his training. She should not be telling him to go there as part of some vision. Changing gears, but speaking of the Northern Water Tribe and not letting Aang get possessed, I kind of liked that scene where the ocean spirit possessed Aang. Now, yes, it is heavily implied, if not directly shown, in the original animation that this is what happens, but I like the higher stakes, the much higher stakes that this adaptation gives to this moment. At this point in the season, we've already established how dangerous an angry spirit can be, and we've arrived at a point with the waterbenders unable to fight back, that there's a real threat of them being wiped out by the Fire Nation, just like the Air Nomads were. This is a real moment of desperation, and it could be Aang's only chance to save the waterbenders. And so by letting the ocean spirit be the one to control his avatar state, which is I think what they were going for in this, he becomes a vengeful spirit. I like this. Again, it shows, okay, Aang doesn't have control of his avatar state. He needs like a vessel to guide him. That's cool. We're reinforcing that. Okay, season 2, he's gotta get control of this. It also reinforces that, hey, Aang would probably not be doing this much destruction on his own if he wasn't in control. It gives him a little bit of a pass for what the ocean spirit causes. But still gives us our cool kaiju monster and a way out of this situation. A Deus Ex Ocean Spirit. And then the season caps off with the nice lesson that The Last Jedi totally failed to deliver on.
That's how we're gonna win. Not fighting what we hate. Saving what we love.
And so Yue becomes the moon. Love prevails. It brings the ocean and moon back together in balance. Side note, I wonder how Rava felt about like the ocean spirit, just like, oh, pardon me, hold on, let me drive here for a second. And finally, we come to the one change I think was the biggest thing overlooked, the biggest mistake of Netflix's Avatar, and that was not giving us more Suki. No. I mean, yes, but no. It was not giving us one of the season 1's, if not Last Airbender as a whole, one of its best and most important episodes, The Deserter. So in the original show, this episode is where we meet Zhong Zhong. He is an ex-firebending general and Admiral Zhao's bending master. This episode teaches Aang the power of firebending, but also that he must learn all 4 elements in order: water, earth, then fire. In the new show, they change Aang's character a little bit to make him scared of just how powerful he is, only more so now that he has all the powers of the Avatar. In the original animation, he's very fun-loving. He's not that concerned with how powerful he is. Yeah, it's an inconvenience to him at times. He loses some friends along the way, it shows us in the original show. But he's not afraid of his power until this episode, until he burns Katara. It is after this that Aang swears he will never firebend again. Omitting this episode just robs us of so many great character moments and character developments. It robs us of Zhong Zhong, a character who proves that you can defect from the Fire Nation. It robs us of an Aang who learns he cannot be this impatient child. He has to grow up and face this responsibility in the way it was intended to be faced. This is even the original episode where Katara learns that she has the ability to heal, and there's a really nice moment between her and Zhong Zhong as they talk about the nature of both of their elements.
You have powers I'll never know.
Water brings healing and life, but fire brings only destruction and pain.
Now, the good news is actually there's a chance they could still do this one in season 2 early on. Maybe the opening episode, Aang is learning to waterbend. He's learning how to control the Avatar state on his own. It wouldn't be the same, but nonetheless, I am still holding out some hope for the deserter. But anyway, those are just some of my many thoughts on the new Avatar show. Overall, I'm pretty hopeful that they can take what worked in this season and do even better in the next. But it remains to be seen. In the end, I think I'll take whatever I can get from the Avatar universe.
Bring me all your elderly!
Well, maybe not everything. But what did you think? Did you like the season? Were there any changes that just ruined your day? Keep the conversation going in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.